Um, as a seasoned fantasy enthusiast who has delved into countless realms and mythologies, I can confidently say that J.R.R. Tolkien's works have left an indelible mark on modern fantasy literature, particularly when it comes to elves. Growing up, my encounters with Elfkind were limited to Tinkerbell and her pixie pals. But Middle-earth opened my eyes to a whole new world of elven lore that has become the benchmark for the species. Uh, in J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, the elves exhibit a range of abilities and physical attributes, making it challenging to single out the strongest among them. Um, as these elves are nearing their departure from Middle Earth, uh, we know that their time has passed. However, during their zenith, these elves of the Lord of the Rings uh, achieved remarkable deeds. They established grand kingdoms, fashioned exceptional and potent jewelry, and bravely combated immense evils. From their inception in the first age until their dwindling in the third age, the most powerful elves in Tolkien's world have consistently stood as guardians of good and aided those in distress. It's worth noting that while some elves from J.R. are going no, Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, like Legolas, aren't perfect and have their flaws. These imperfections are delved into more deeply in the Amazon Prime series, The Rings of Power. Some elves were portrayed as being greedy, and others even committed one of the gravest elvish sins, kinslaying. However, it's essential to remember that most of these elves were heroic, demonstrating their power in various ways beyond traditional heroism. Uh, in Lord of the Rings, elven power was showcased in many forms, and some elves fought and vanquished Balrogs, but others made significant personal sacrifices or dismantled barriers that had stood for millennia. All actions that required immense strength. Figwit and the nameless elf spied by fans in the Fellowship of the Ring. Uh, it's unusual for Figwit to sound like an elven name because it isn't one. Instead, it stands for Frodo is great. Who is this? This nickname was coined by a fan while rewatching, as they found it intriguing that after Frodo selflessly agreed to carry the ring to Mordor, the camera shifted to an unidentified elf character. As a movie enthusiast, let me share a delightful tidbit. The enigmatic elf character in Lord of the Rings, whom you may recognize, is none other than Bret McKenzie, best known for his work in Flight of the Conchords. His character, Figwit, made a cameo appearance in The Return of the King and returned with a more substantial role in the Hobbit series. Thanks to the surge in the popularity among fans that Peter Jackson noticed, 19 Arendir, the second age, Sylvan elf responsible for keeping watch over the Southlands. In the realm of Amazon's Rings of Power, this unique elf figure was specifically designed, although he is not strictly adhering to J.R.R. Tolkien's original canon as a Sylvan elf. He doesn't possess the same level of power as other elves, but he was entrusted with the significant duty of safeguarding Middle Earth's southern territories because this responsibility is crucial as these lands have a history of reverting to destructive behaviors among their inhabitants. As is common among elves, he is skilled in archery and has been instrumental in warding off orcish invaders. For 79 years, he stood firm in the Southlands, but an unexpected twist occurred when he encountered Bronwyn. Bronwyn, a human woman, found herself admired by the elf from The Lord of the Rings, despite Medhor's warning about the perils of loving a human. This didn't deter him in the slightest. At the conclusion of the Southlands rule, instead of returning home with the other LOTR elves, Arendir chose to revisit his beloved once more. However, he was captured by orcs and compelled to dig against his will. 18 Toriel, the captain of the Mirkwood Guard, in the Third Age, introducing a non-canonical elf from Lord of the Rings into The Hobbit, sparked controversy among Tolkien purists. However, had Tauriel not been included, the Hobbit trilogy would have been even more male-dominated than the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Thus, adding a female character from Lord of the Rings was logical. In her role as commander of the Mirkwood Elven Guard, she demonstrated her prowess as a skilled military warrior and led the forces hailing from the Woodland Realm. And Toriel frequently showcased her proficiency with her bow and daggers, but what truly set her apart was her intelligence and foresight, recognizing the necessity for change long before others. In J.R.R. Sasa, Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, she was an elf who embraced the dwarves, when many still harbored prejudices against them. Furthermore, Toriel urged the elves to actively participate in the struggle against the rising darkness in Middle-earth, decades before Legolas overcame his biases and Elrond acknowledged the importance of the men. 17 Haldir. And I see the Martorden of Lothlorien in the epic tale of The Lord of the Rings. Haldir's character and his unusual bond portrayed in the films extend beyond what's written in the books. In Tolkien's novels, Haldir primarily serves as a guardian, safeguarding Lothlorien's forests from marauding orcs. However, in the movie adaptations, Haldir's role expands to include more significant responsibilities. In The Two Towers, at the instruction of Galadriel and Elrond, Haldir was tasked with commanding a group of elves from the Lord of the Rings to defend the Rohirrim, who were under siege at Helm's Deep. He fought bravely alongside Aragorn, and although the Rohirrim sustained heavy casualties during the battle, Haldir's presence and that of his fellow elves provided crucial support, enabling Theoden's people to endure through the night until Gandalf and his reinforcements arrived. 116, Arwen, the warrior bride of Aragorn. In the films, based on Lot, Arwen's part as an elf was substantially enlarged to make her contribution to the story more substantial. The writers chose to have her assist Frodo in evading the ring wraiths. Contrastingly, in the books, her role is less prominent, and she serves mainly as a love interest for Aragorn. Despite their relationship not being as developmentally progressive as Eowyn's character, Arwen demonstrates considerable strength, although in a different manner. Instead of joining the other elves from Lord of the Rings in sailing to Valinor and forgetting about Aragorn, she chose to stay behind, demonstrating great bravery in remaining in Middle-earth. This decision, rooted in love, required courage, elevating her status as one of the most powerful elves within the Lord of the Rings universe. Understanding the King of Mirkwood as a passionate movie buff who's deeply immersed in the magical realm of Middle-earth, let me share my thoughts on Thranduil, the majestic elven king of Mirkwood. Riding proudly upon an elegant elk into battle, he commands respect with his regal presence. Not to mention those perfectly frosted eyebrows that add a touch of mystique. Uh, Instead of labeling Thranduil as self-centered, it's important to consider the hardships he endured that might have shaped his more secluded lifestyle. Notably, the elf Thranduil from Lord of the Rings participated in the War of the Last Alliance against Sauron. Uh, um, this battle resulted in the loss of his father and a significant portion of his people, an unfortunate reality that likely fueled his apprehension towards conflict. Uh, Moreover, Thranduil possesses the ability to use magical doors for defense, making him a formidable warrior when it comes to protecting his domain. 14 Finrod, the martyred brother of Galadriel, in the Amazon Prime series, The Rings of Power. While Elfkind, brother to Galadriel, doesn't have many screen appearances, his role is crucial to the storyline. The first episode narrates Finrod's entire life until his death during the First Age's Great War. Unlike Loss, who is more commonly known, Finrod was a close ally to the dwarves and even helped him establish Nargothrond. After its founding, he ruled over his kingdom in Beleriand, constantly acting as a diplomat. Finrod was the one who initially engaged with men in Osiriand and developed a close bond with the House of Beor. This friendship was reciprocated when Badahir of House Beor saved Finrod's life during a conflict against Morgoth. In gratitude, he bestowed upon Badahir a ring identical to that worn by Aragorn. Later, Beden, Badahir's son, sought Finrod's aid with magic. He concealed their identities but was discovered by Sauron and was forced to unveil himself to save Beren. Although Beren managed to escape, Finrod met an unfortunate end at the paws of a werewolf and succumbed to his injuries. 13, Fingon, the High King of the Noldor, known as Fingon the Brave, this elf from the Lord of the Rings series, does not feature in any subsequent movies or TV productions. However, he remains significant within the J.R.R., who Tolkien's broader narrative. Following his father's demise, he reigned as king of the Noldor in Middle-earth during the First Age. He was instrumental in leading or participating in numerous elven battles of the First Age and played a crucial role in reuniting the sons of Fëanor and Percedr. The problem with Fingon as an elf stems from his lineage. In J.R.R. It was Tolkien's book, A Chronicle of Middle-earth's Ancient History. Fingon is claimed to be the father of Gil-galad. However, this it has been challenged by Christopher Tolkien, J.R.R., son, stating it was an oversight during the editing process of. This theory is reinforced by Torgon, Fingon's brother, taking over the throne after his death, although the matter remains debated. 12, Celebrimbor, the elf craftsman who created the Rings of Power. In the Lord of the Rings movies, Celebrimbor may not be explicitly named, but his work is evident throughout the storyline. Historically, Celebrimbor was an elven artisan and jeweler who gained significant recognition for his skills. With the aid of Anatar, supernatural being later revealed to be Sauron in disguise, he fashioned 16 out of the total 20 rings of power, which ultimately ended up in the possession of men and dwarves. However, as Celebrimbor crafted the 3 elven rings independently, they were devoid of the corrupting influence that affected the other rings. Apart from shaping most of the rings of power, the elven lord, known as Celebrimbor, played a significant role in assisting Dwarf Narvi in constructing the doors of Durin and one of the entrances to the Dwarven realm of Khazad-dûm. Additionally, it was Celebrimbor who bravely declared he would forge a new One Ring to counter Sauron's power, showing his determination to carry out the ultimate mission to save his world until ultimately defeated and absorbed by Sauron. 11, Legolas, the Prince of Mirkwood, known as the Prince of Mirkwood and the Shield Rider. Legolas possesses numerous skills. This elven lord from the Lord of the Rings is an adept archer, deftly navigating the trunk of a mammoth oliphant, and even acrobatically mounting a galloping horse without missing a beat, all while maintaining a tally of his slain foes. This underscores his status as one of the most powerful elves in Lord of the Rings. Remarkably, despite inheriting his father's animosity towards dwarves, Legolas's capacity to overcome that bias is truly admirable. In the course of their relationship, he not only learns to accept Gimli, but eventually forges an exceptional and trailblazing friendship with him, which stands out among all friendships in Middle-earth. The bond between this elf from Lord of the Rings and dwarf was so robust that when Legolas chose to depart Middle-earth forever and sailed towards the Undying Lands, as most of his kin did, he brought Gimli along. This made Gimli the first dwarf ever to set foot in this hallowed elvish sanctuary. In the books, Legolas was not as powerful as he appeared in the movies. Celeborn, Lord of Lothlorien, husband of Galadriel. In the world of Middle-earth, Celeborn, renowned for his martial prowess and wisdom among the elves of the Lord of the Rings, might be most remembered for marrying Galadriel, who is hailed as the most powerful and beautiful elf. And what makes this even more remarkable is Celeborn's selfless embrace of a supporting role, allowing Galadriel to retain her might in every sense, whether J.R.R. and Tolkien intended this portrayal of this elf character is immaterial. In the story where there are few female characters and fewer stable romantic relationships, it's meaningful how Celeborn is portrayed as a supportive spouse who doesn't feel threatened by his partner's strength. This depiction carries significant weight of the couple, sensing a growing darkness, chose to stand against it, becoming guardians of the forest. Nine Glorfindel. Um, it was it was the the Golden Flower, Lord of the Golden Flower, that wrote that was shot in movie adaptations of the Fellowship of the Ring. Many devoted readers were saddened by the absence of Glorfindel, an elf character from the book whose thrilling chase scenes with the ringwraiths, also known as the Nazgul, left a lasting impression. Uh, One such scene involved Frodo, who was injured during this pursuit and needed immediate rescue, which was provided in the movie by Arwen instead of Glorfindel. And another notable change was that it was Arwen who summoned the torrent of water to overpower the ringwraiths in the film. A role originally played by Glorfindel in the book, read uh, beyond avoiding the ringwraiths, Glorfindel has an impressive list of valorous deeds. This noble elf from the realm of Middle Earth was instrumental in defeating the Witch King of Angmar during his battles against Sauron's master, Morgoth. In a fierce confrontation, Glorfindel overpowered and vanquished a formidable Balrog. Though this battle ultimately claimed his life, his deeds were so noble that upon his death, he was granted a second chance at life and elevated to one of the most powerful elves in Middle Earth. Icthelion for the Bane of Gothmog, in case the name Icthelion seems familiar to you, it's likely due to its frequent mentions in J.R.R. Tolkien's Return of the King. Gandalf addresses Denethor as son of Ecthelion when they meet in Minas Tirith during their quest to alert Denethor about Sauron's plans. Apart from having a son named Denethor, whose death was more traumatic in the films, this esteemed elf lord is among the most valiant heroes of the First Age and frequently fought alongside Glorfindel. In the epic tale known as Lord of the Rings, an elf named Glorfindel, a lord within the House of the Fountain, fought valiantly alongside Turgon during the Battle of Nirnaeth Arnodiad. Regrettably, they were overpowered and were compelled to withdraw their forces from Gondolin hours. Additionally, Ecthelion, who held the position of gatekeeper, battled fiercely against invading dragons, orcs, and even 3 Balrogs during the Siege of Gondolin. During the catastrophic fall of Gondolin, Ecthelion engaged in a fierce duel with Gothmog and managed to fatally wound him by thrusting his helmet spike through the demon's corporeal form, entirely made and maintaining a back before it. Tragically, both Ecthelion and Gothmog plunged into the Fountain of the King and met their untimely deaths by drowning. The Prince of Gondolin and Lord of Avernium. In the epic tale of Lord of the Rings, Arendil is frequently mentioned due to the light of Arendil, and the Star of Arendil, a vial holding the light of Arendil, was bestowed upon Frodo during the Third Age, aiding him in his struggle against Shelob. And Arendil, however, was not only a significant character in Lord of the Rings lore, but also a half-elf. Intriguingly, his legendary voyage commenced following the slaying of Ankh-Logon the Black, Morgoth's most powerful dragon, and his destiny was to sail across the Great Ocean with the Silmaril that Luthien and Beren had stolen from Morgoth. He was tasked with safeguarding both the moon and the sun. Ian J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, the Star of Erendel carries immense importance, not just for the storyline, but also for the elf character himself. Given that Middle-earth is illuminated solely by starlight, the Star of Erendil serves as a symbol of hope for its inhabitants. The last surviving Silmaril that Erendil transported across the Great Sea aboard his ship, Vinglot, eventually transformed into the Morning Star. By the onset of the Third Age, it stands as the sole remnant of that radiant light, mystering where, like, the High King of the Noldor and King of Hithlum, Fingolfin's voyage to the Middle-earth was marked by numerous challenges, and his half-brother, Fëanor, became wary of Fingolfin following the spread of false rumors from Morgoth, who was Sauron's superior. These malicious lies stirred suspicion within Fëanor about his younger brother. As a result, Fëanor went to great lengths to hinder Fingolfin and his companions. Nevertheless, despite Fëanor's obstacles, Fingolfin successfully reached the Middle-earth. In the realm of Middle-earth, Fingolfin displayed his greatest act of valor by taking on Morgoth in a one-on-one battle, known for his immense power, second only to the Dark Lord Sauron, if not more powerful. This conflict was a testament to Fingolfin's resilience and skill. In an extraordinary display, he managed to match blows with Morgoth for quite some time, even dealing him several wounds. What's more, he delivered a devastating blow that left Morgoth with a persistent limp as a reminder of their encounter. One, Gil-galad, the king of the High Elves, Gil-galad, a renowned king among the Noldor in Middle-earth, within the realm of Lord of the Rings, was one of the most powerful elves. There's much debate about whether his power surpasses that of Galadriel from Rings of Power. Unlike many others, Gil-galad had the unique ability to perceive Sauron disguised as a benevolent being among his people. He was also given the responsibility of guarding two of the Elven Rings of Power, one of which he bestowed upon Elrond. In the Lord of the Rings films, although Gil-galad, the elf from Lot, doesn't have a speaking part, he is briefly seen in the prologue fighting against Sauron's troops. Together with Elendil and Aragorn's ancestor, he formed the Lost Alliance of Elves and Men. This alliance managed to momentarily overpower Sauron before he regained his strength during the storyline of The Lord of the Rings. It was by inflicting fatal injuries upon him that they demonstrated Sauron's true power, ultimately causing his physical body to be destroyed. For Fëanor, Lord of the Lights, despite Fëanor's occasional self-centeredness, anxiety, and strained sibling relationships, he managed to achieve extraordinary feats throughout his life. Notably, he forged the Silmarils, which were indisputably the most valuable jewels across all of Arda. The Silmarils held immense worth. because they were crafted from the two trees of Valinor, two trees that imbued any observer with blessings and strength. In the grand lore of Middle-earth, it was Morgoth, an even more malevolent and potent incarnation compared to Sauron, who devastated the trees. Consequently, the Silmarils became one of the rare means through which the radiance of the two trees of Valinor persisted. Three Luthien, Princess of Doriath and Lady of Tol Galen, in J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, Luthien is frequently associated with Arwen, known for her extraordinary beauty among the elves. It's clear that Arwen, a descendant of Luthien, shares a striking resemblance. Moreover, both ladies found themselves in love with mortal beings, a relationship that brought them significant sorrow. However, Luthien's actions and accomplishments surpass these similarities, making her one of the most powerful immortal elves within the world of the Lord of the Rings. In the instance when her beloved Baron was seized by Sauron, Luthien orchestrated his rescue by leveraging her unique abilities. They stealthily infiltrated Morgoth's stronghold, and they have inside this fortress, Luthien cast a spell that put Morgoth and his retinue into a profound slumber. This magical lull allowed Beren to retrieve one of the valuable Silmarils from Morgoth's crown. And now I do Lord of Rivendell, Elrond, a helpful and amiable elf from the world of J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings stepped up to care for Aragorn when his father was killed. And they have set up on these games, and they won't be able to do this. And if the Middle Earth, having nothing into the last, it is not unexpected that Elrond is viewed as a wise leader, respected not only by his own kin, but by many others. Even though he takes on a different role in the Rings of Power, beyond boasting an indomitable spirit, he's proficient in combat and played a pivotal role during the First War against Sauron. He is also the guardian of Vilya, the Ring of Air, a relic that bestows him with various powers, such as the ability to preserve and heal, power that makes him one of the most powerful elves in Lord of the Rings. Notably, Elrond contributed significantly by establishing Rivendell as one of the remaining fortresses against Sauron's influence and safeguarded Aragorn until he was prepared to embrace his destiny. Galadriel, Lady of Lothlorien and Mistress of Magic. As a devoted fan, I'd like to share an intriguing perspective from Unfinished Tales of Numenor and Middle-earth. It's said that among the noble Noldor, Galadriel stood supreme, second only to Feanor, perhaps. Yet her wisdom surpassed his, growing more profound with each passing year. In the epic tale of the Lord of the Rings, Galadriel, the guardian of Nenya, the Ring of Water, possessed significant powers, and her ring allowed her to safeguard Lorien against any assaults. And moreover, her profound wisdom enabled her as an elf in The Lord of the Rings to discern Sauron's cunning disguise when he manifested himself differently to the elves. With the One Ring, it is clear that Galadriel would rank among the most powerful elves within The Lord of the Rings, as she confidently declared, quote, "All will adore me and be filled with despair." How the Lot-R elves stack up against other powerful elves in fantasy series. The vast majority, if not all, contemporary fantasy in one way or another owes a debt to J.R.R. Tolkien's works, particularly when it comes to depictions of elves. Before Tolkien, Elfkind was often portrayed as more akin to pixies, gnomes, or fairies. In fact, Dobby from the Harry Potter series might be the most modern elf-like character that closely resembles pre-Tolkien depictions of elves. Um, the concept of elves as immortal beings who are visually similar to humans, but superior in nearly every aspect, is largely attributable to Tolkien and the elves of Middle-earth. They were similar to this as such a active and popular in beyond popular fantasy. Same follows in popular fantasy literature. In most fantasy realms, including those in J.R.R., Tolkien's Middle-earth, Andrzej Sapkowski's Witcher universe, and games like Warcraft and the Elder Scrolls, elves are generally portrayed as immortal, or at least living very long lives. They also often share the characteristic of being skilled in combat, with wood elves being particularly proficient with bows. This trait seems to be a common thread across different settings that comes from, and in many fictional worlds, elves play significant roles, but only a select few, such as Middle-earth, have elves so deeply ingrained in the creation and preservation of the land. Few other settings boast an age of elves or focus on the aftermath of this epical era coming to an end. In some fictional worlds, elves might possess greater magical powers compared to those envisioned by J.R.R. Tolkien. A crucial aspect to consider in these cases is typically the magnitude of magic and enchantment involved. While magic does play a role in Tolkien's works, it tends to be more nuanced, quite different from the vast array of powers that many magical characters in games as light and can summon almost instantaneously. How in the fictional realm of Dungeons and Dragons, as depicted in the Legend of Drist's novels, there are many elven characters who might surpass Legolas, Elrond, or Galadriel, a one-on-one duel due to the distinct nature of magic in these stories. It's essential to understand that their power isn't inherent to being an elf. Instead, it's a reflection of the unique magical system within the Dungeons and Dragons universe. In other fantasy worlds, characters from various races may possess similar abilities, and when considering the overall influence and position of elves in their respective universes, only a few settings feature elves as powerful as those found in The Lord of Rings.